The sky above Polara Prime burned orange as the Vryn ships tore through the atmosphere. Elder Pelrix watched from the observation tower as another orbital station exploded in the distance, its metal frame twisting like paper in flames. His hands shook as he gripped the railing. The Calyx people had lived in peace for 3,000 years. They had no weapons, no military, no way to fight back. "Elder, we must evacuate the northern districts," his assistant said, her voice tight with fear. "The Vryn are moving closer." Pelrix closed his eyes. The Vryn swarm had appeared 2 days ago without warning. Bioships, they called them, living vessels that consumed everything in their path. The Calyx Defense Force had tried to stop them with mining lasers and cargo ships. It had been like throwing stones at a hurricane. "Sound the evacuation alarms," Pelrix said quietly. "Get everyone into the underground shelters." "And then what?" his assistant asked. "We can hide, but for how long?" "They'll dig us out eventually." Pelrix had no answer. He walked slowly to the ancient communication panel, dust covering its surface. The beacon had not been used in over a century. It was old technology from a time when the galaxy was more dangerous. Now in this moment of desperation, it might be their only hope. "Send the distress signal," Pelrix ordered. "Broadcast on all frequencies. Tell them we are dying. Give them our coordinates." His assistant activated the beacon with trembling fingers. The message was simple and desperate. "We are dying. Please help. Coordinates attached." Pelrix did not know who would answer. Perhaps the Galactic Council would send mediators. Perhaps nearby civilizations would offer them refuge. Perhaps no one would come at all. 3 systems away, Captain Jinho stood on the bridge of the cargo vessel Morning Star. His ship was old but reliable, carrying medical supplies to a mining colony. It was routine work. Boring even. That changed when Hana, his communications officer, suddenly sat up straight in her chair. "Captain," Hana said, pulling off her headset, "I'm picking up a distress signal. It's broadcasting on emergency frequencies." Jinho walked over to her station. "What does it say?" Hana played the message. The voice was unfamiliar, the language translated by the ship's computer. But the desperation was clear. Jinho listened to the coordinates and felt something cold settle in his chest. "That's the Polara system," he said. 3 hours away at maximum speed. "Should I forward it to the nearest patrol?" Hana asked. Jinho shook his head. "Forward it to every human ship within 6 systems. Mark it priority alpha." Hana looked at him in surprise. "Every ship?" "Captain, that's standard protocol for colony attacks, or—" "Someone sent a distress signal," Jinho interrupted. "That means people are dying. Send the message now." Hana's fingers flew across her console. Within seconds, the distress signal reached dozens of human vessels. Cargo ships, science vessels, mining operations, and military ships cruising the outer territories on patrol. On the bridge of the dreadnought Indomitable Will, Admiral Yuna Kang read the distress signal 3 times. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray in her hair. She had served in the Human Defense Fleet for 30 years. She knew what a distress call meant. "Navigation, plot a course to Polara system," Yuna ordered. "Maximum speed. Communications, contact every human vessel in range. Tell them to converge on these coordinates." Her tactical officer looked up from his screen. "Admiral, we don't know the nature of the threat. Shouldn't we send a scout first?" Yuna's expression did not change. "Someone is dying. We're going, and we're bringing everyone we can." Across 6 systems, human ships changed course. Captain Jinho pushed the Morning Star's engines past their safety limits. Fighter carriers launched from military stations. Mining vessels armed their defensive weapons and followed. Construction ships, science vessels, even a colony transport, all of them turned toward Polara Prime. In space, 347 human ships began moving as one massive fleet. Back on Polara Prime, Elder Pelrix huddled in the underground shelter with 5,000 of his people. The walls shook as Vryn bioships landed on the surface above them. He could hear the creatures digging, scratching at the ground. They would break through eventually. It was only a matter of time. "Did anyone answer our signal?" someone asked in the darkness. Pelrix could not answer. He had heard nothing. No response. No confirmation that anyone had even received their desperate plea. A child began to cry. Parents held their young ones close. Some Calyx prayed to their ancient gods. Others simply waited in silence. Then the shelter's emergency console beeped. Pelrix stumbled to it in the darkness, his heart pounding. A message. Someone had responded. This is Captain Jinho of the human vessel Morningstar. We received your distress signal. Help is coming. Hold on. Pelrix felt tears stream down his face. They heard us, he whispered. Someone heard us, but the relief was short-lived. His sensor officer checked the orbital display and gasped. Elder, something is happening in high orbit. Multiple signatures. Hundreds of them. The Vrin reinforcements? Pelrix asked, his hope dying. The sensor officer shook his head slowly. No, sir. These signatures are different. They're coming out of faster-than-light travel, all at once. It's like an invasion fleet. Pelrix pulled up the sensor data on his small screen. His breath caught in his throat. Ships, hundreds of ships, appearing in orbit like stars suddenly igniting. They were not Vrin bioships. They were metal vessels, sleek and dangerous, bristling with weapons. What are they? His assistant whispered. The communication console crackled to life. A new voice, calm and controlled. This is Admiral Yuna Kang of the Human Defense Fleet. We are in position. Polara Prime, confirm your status. Pelrix grabbed the communicator with shaking hands. This is Elder Pelrix of the Helix Colony. We are under attack by the Vrin swarm. They are on the surface. We are hiding underground. Please, we need help. There was a brief pause. Then Admiral Yuna spoke again, and her voice was like ice. Understood. All human vessels, this is Fleet Command. Weapons free. Priority Alpha. Protect all civilians. Priority Beta. Destroy every Vrin ship in this system. Priority Gamma. Ensure none escape. Execute. Pelrix did not understand all the military terms, but he understood one thing clearly. The humans had not come to negotiate. They had not come to mediate. They had come to fight. And they had brought an armada. In the shelter, the Helix people felt the ground shake as weapons fire began to rain from the sky. But this time it was not the Vrin attacking. It was something far more powerful. Something that had heard their cry for help and answered with overwhelming force. Elder Pelrix sat in the darkness, surrounded by his frightened people, and wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. They had called for help, but what had they summoned? The Vrin swarm had never known fear. For 1,000 years they had consumed planets, absorbed civilizations, and grown stronger with each conquest. The hive mind that connected every Vrin creature had no concept of defeat. Until now, when the human fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel, the Vrin ships detected them immediately. 347 vessels. The swarm analyzed the threat and dismissed it. The Vrin had over 600 bioships in the Polara system. Numbers meant victory. Numbers always meant victory. The swarm was wrong. Admiral Yuna Kang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Will, watching her tactical display. Each blue dot represented a human ship. Each red dot was a Vrin vessel. The red dots outnumbered the blue, but Yuna did not care about numbers. She cared about capability. All ships report ready, Admiral, her communications officer said. Yuna nodded. Begin attack pattern Delta 7. Dreadnoughts form the main line. Carriers launch all fighters. Frigates protect the carriers. Cruisers free hunting. Remember, our job is to protect those people down there. Across the fleet, human crews moved with practiced efficiency. This was not their first battle. Humanity had fought wars for thousands of years on their home world. They knew violence. They understood war. And they were very, very good at it. Taeyang sat in the cockpit of his fighter, hands on the controls. He was young, only 23, but he had trained for this moment his entire life. Around him, 40 other fighters launched from the carrier Dawn's Light. Their mission was simple: destroy any Vrin ship that tried to reach the surface. Blue Squadron. Form up on me, Taeyang's squadron leader ordered. We're heading for the cluster near the northern continent. Rules of engagement, weapons free. No mercy for bugs. Taeyang pushed his fighter forward, acceleration pressing him back into his seat. The force would have killed most alien species. But humans came from Earth, a heavy gravity world. Their bodies were built to withstand pressure that would crush other beings. The first Vrin bioship appeared on his sensors. It was massive, 3 times the size of his fighter, covered in organic armor and weapon ports. Taeyang did not hesitate. He armed his missiles and fired. 2 missiles streaked through space and slammed into the Vrin ship. The explosions tore through its hull. The bioship twisted, trying to escape, but 3 other human fighters hit it with plasma fire. The Vrin vessel died in seconds. First kill, Blue 7, Taeyang reported calmly. Moving to next target. On the surface of Polara Prime, Elder Pelrix and his people felt the shelter shake again and again. But now they could see what was happening on the sensor displays. Human ships were everywhere, moving in coordinated patterns, hitting the Vryn with devastating firepower. "They fight like nothing I have ever seen," Pelrix's sensor officer whispered. "Look at their coordination. Every ship knows exactly where to be. They move like a single organism." Pelrix watched a human dreadnought fire its main guns. The massive weapons sent projectiles moving at incredible speed. When they hit a Vryn hive ship, the impact was catastrophic. The entire bioship simply came apart, torn to pieces by kinetic force. "What are those weapons?" his assistant asked. "I do not know," Pelrix said quietly, "but they are terrifyingly effective." On the bridge of the Indomitable Will, Minji studied the battle data with cold precision. She was the fleet's tactical officer, responsible for analyzing enemy patterns and finding weaknesses. The Vryn fought with numerical advantage and hive coordination, but humans fought with something else: adaptability. "Admiral, the Vryn are trying to overwhelm our eastern flank," Minji reported. "They're sending 40 ships to break through." Yuna looked at the tactical display. "Redirect Cruiser Group 3 to intercept. Have them use nuclear missiles. Let's see how the swarm handles radiation." Minji relayed the orders. Minutes later, 3 human cruisers fired a salvo of nuclear-tipped missiles into the approaching Vryn formation. The explosions created miniature suns in space. When the light faded, 32 Vryn ships were gone. The remaining 8 tried to retreat. "No retreat," Yuna said quietly. "Fighters pursue and destroy." Taeyang and his squadron chased down the fleeing Vryn ships. It took less than 5 minutes. The Vryn bioships were fast, but human fighters were faster. And human pilots had no hesitation, no fear. They had a job to do, and they would do it. Deep in the Polara system, on the surface of the planet, another kind of battle was taking place. Marine Commander Jinwoo led his team through the ruined streets of Akilic City. Vryn ground forces had landed here, spreading through the buildings like a plague. The civilians were gone, evacuated to shelters, but the Vryn remained. "Contact 300 meters," one of Jinwoo's soldiers reported. "Multiple hostiles." Jinwoo raised his rifle. "Engage, standard sweep pattern." No survivors. The Marines moved forward in perfect formation. When the Vryn creatures rushed at them, the humans did not panic. They fired with calm accuracy, each shot finding its target. Vryn soldiers fell, their organic armor no match for human weapons. A massive Vryn warrior, twice the size of a human, charged at Jinwoo. He waited until it was close, then shot it 3 times in what passed for its head. The creature collapsed at his feet. "Clear," Jinwoo reported. "Moving to next sector." Behind him, his soldiers checked every corner, every building. They were thorough. They were efficient. And they showed no mercy to the Vryn invaders. In orbit, the battle continued. The Vryn swarm began to realize something was wrong. They outnumbered the humans, but they were losing. Human weapons were too powerful. Human tactics were too smart. Human resolve was unbreakable. The swarm mind made a decision: retreat, preserve the hive, return with greater numbers. But when the Vryn ships tried to escape into faster-than-light travel, they found they could not. The humans had deployed interdiction fields across the entire system. Nothing could leave. The trap was complete. "Admiral, the Vryn are attempting to flee," Minji reported. "They cannot escape the system." Yuna's expression did not change. "Good, continue the attack. I want every Vryn ship accounted for." Across the fleet, human ships pressed the advantage. Dreadnoughts fired their massive guns in steady rhythm. Cruisers hunted Vryn vessels through asteroid fields. Fighters swarmed any bioship that tried to hide behind moons or space stations. In the underground shelter, Elder Pelrix watched the battle unfold with growing horror and amazement. The humans were winning. Completely. Utterly. The Vryn swarm that had seemed unstoppable was being destroyed piece by piece. "How are they doing this?" his assistant whispered. "The Vryn have conquered dozens of worlds." Pelrix shook his head slowly. "I do not think the Vryn have ever faced a species like this. These humans, they do not fight to survive. They fight to win. There is a difference." On the Indomitable Will, an officer approached Admiral Yuna. "Admiral, we're receiving communication requests from several Vryn ships. They want to surrender." Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke, her voice cold. "No. They came here to exterminate an entire civilization. They do not get to surrender." "Continue the attack," the officer hesitated. "Admiral, The Galactic Convention on Warfare states, "The Galactic Convention does not apply to species that practice genocide," Yuna interrupted. "These creatures came here to consume every living being on that planet. We will show them the same mercy they would have shown the Kalix. None. Relay my orders." In his fighter, Taeyang heard the order and felt nothing but agreement. The Vrin had chosen this path. Now they would face the consequences. He locked onto another bioship and fired. Hours passed. The Vrin numbers dwindled. 600 became 400. 400 became 200. 200 became 50. Finally, as the sun rose over Polara Prime, the last Vrin ship was destroyed. The system was secure. Not a single enemy vessel remained. In the shelter, the Kelix people heard the announcement. "This is Captain Jinho of the Morning Star. The Vrin have been eliminated. It is safe to come out." Elder Pelric stood slowly, his legs shaking. They had been saved. But as he looked at the sensor display, showing the debris field of destroyed Vrin ships, he felt something he had not expected. He felt afraid of his rescuers. The sun rose over a battlefield. Polara Prime had survived, but the scars were everywhere. Burning buildings. Craters in the ground where Vrin ships had crashed. The sky still glowed with the fires of destroyed vessels in orbit. The Kelix people emerged from their shelters slowly, looking at their ruined world with shock and relief. Elder Pelric stood at the entrance of the main shelter, squinting in the morning light. Around him, thousands of his people gathered, murmuring in their native language. They were alive. Against all odds, they were alive. A shadow passed overhead. Pelric looked up and saw a human dropship descending toward their location. It landed smoothly on the damaged ground, engines kicking up dust. The rear ramp lowered and a human stepped out. Captain Jinho walked forward, his uniform clean despite the battle. He was tall by Kelix standards, with dark hair and calm eyes. Behind him, several other humans followed, including a woman with a medical bag. Pelric stepped forward, not sure what to say. "You came," he finally managed. "You heard our call and you came." Jinho nodded. "Yes, we received your distress signal. Are your people safe?" "Safe." Pelric repeated the word like he did not quite believe it. "Yes, thanks to you. We have wounded, but most of us survived." The woman with the medical bag stepped forward. Her name tag read Soman. "I am a medic," she said gently. "May I see your wounded?" "I can help." Pelric gestured toward the shelter entrance. "Wait, please. Our doctors are overwhelmed." Soman and two other human medics entered the shelter. Pelric watched them go, then turned back to Jinho. "I must ask, why? Why did so many of you come? We are strangers to your people." Jinho looked at the elder with something like surprise. "You sent a distress signal. That means people needed help. What else would we do?" "But you brought hundreds of ships," Pelric said. "An entire fleet for us. For people you never met?" "Yes," Jinho said simply. "That is what we do." Pelric did not understand, but before he could ask more questions, another voice interrupted. "Elder Pelric, we need to talk about the system security." Admiral Yuna Kang approached from another dropship. She was smaller than Jinho, but carried herself with unmistakable authority. With her came Minji, her tactical officer, carrying a datapad. "Admiral," Pelric said, bowing slightly, "I owe you my people's lives." Yuna did not smile. "We need to sweep the entire system. My intelligence officer has discovered something concerning." Minji activated her datapad, showing a holographic map. "We analyzed the Vrin communication patterns during the battle. They were reporting to a mothership, a central hive vessel that coordinates the swarm." Pelric felt his hope drain away. "You mean there are more of them?" "Yes," Minji said. "The mothership is hiding somewhere in your asteroid belt. It contains thousands more Vrin. If we do not destroy it, they will attack again once we leave." Elder Pelric looked at his ruined city, then at the human admiral. "What do you need from us?" "Nothing," Yuna said. "You have suffered enough. This is our responsibility now. We will find the mothership and eliminate it." "How?" Pelric asked. "The asteroid belt is massive. It could take weeks to search." Minji tapped her datapad. "We have already located it." Yunji, our intelligence officer on the Indomitable Will, tracked their communication signals. "The mothership is hiding in Sector 7 of the belt, using a large asteroid for cover." Yuna turned to leave. "I am taking the dreadnoughts to end this. Captain Jinho will remain here to coordinate relief efforts." Pelric watched the admiral walk away and felt a chill run down his spine. There was something cold in her voice, something absolute. The Vrin mothership had no idea what was coming for it. In the asteroid belt, the Vrin mothership waited in silence. It was a massive vessel, 10 times larger than any other Vrin ship, pulsing with organic life. Inside, the swarm mind calculated and planned. The initial attack had failed, but the hive was patient. They would wait. They would grow. They would try again. Then the sensors detected movement. Ships approaching. Human ships. The swarm mind was not concerned. The mothership had thick armor, powerful weapons, and thousands of Vrin soldiers inside. One vessel, even a large one, could not threaten the hive, but it was not one vessel. It was 12. 12 human dreadnoughts emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation. Each one was a kilometer long, bristling with weapons designed to crack planets. Admiral Yuna stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Will, looking at the Vrin mothership on her display. "Target confirmed," Minji said. "The mothership matches the profile. It is trying to charge its faster-than-light drive." "Do not let it escape," Yuna ordered. "All ships activate interdiction fields. Do-Hyun, what is the status of our main guns?" Engineer Do-Hyun's voice came through the communication system. "Main guns charged and ready, Admiral." "All systems green," Yuna nodded slowly. "All dreadnoughts load planet cracker rounds. Target the mothership's central core. Fire on my mark." Planet crackers were weapons designed for one purpose: destroying massive objects, asteroids, space stations, and yes, if necessary, cracking the crust of a planet. Each round contained enough kinetic energy to split a mountain in half. The Vrin mothership detected the weapons charging and panicked. It launched every fighter it had. Hundreds of small biocrafts streamed out, heading for the human dreadnoughts. Yuna watched them come. "Fighter screen, engage. Do not let them reach the dreadnoughts." Taeyang and his squadron had followed the fleet to the asteroid belt. Now they launched forward, meeting the Vrin fighters head-on. The battle was fierce but short. Human pilots were simply better. Faster reactions, better training, more aggressive tactics. Within minutes, most of the Vrin fighters were destroyed. The few that survived fled into the asteroid field. "All targets clear," Taeyang reported. "You have a clean shot, Admiral." On the Indomitable Will, Yuna took a breath. "All ships, fire!" 12 dreadnoughts fired simultaneously. 12 planet cracker rounds, each moving at a significant fraction of light speed, crossed the distance in seconds. The Vrin mothership tried to maneuver, but it was too slow, too large. The rounds hit. The impact was catastrophic. The mothership's armor, thick enough to withstand normal weapons, simply shattered. The planet cracker rounds punched through the hull and detonated inside the vessel's core. The explosions tore through the organic structure, ripping it apart from the inside. The Vrin mothership broke into 3 pieces, each piece trailing biological matter and atmosphere into space. Inside, thousands of Vrin died instantly. "Target destroyed," Minji reported, detecting no surviving vessels in the system. Yuna sat down in her command chair. "Confirm complete destruction. I want scans of every piece of debris. If even one Vrin survives, it could rebuild the hive." For the next hour, human ships swept through the remains of the mothership. Fighters fired on any piece large enough to contain life. Marines in spacesuits boarded the larger sections, checking for survivors. They found none. Finally, Do-Hyun reported from engineering. "Admiral, all scans complete. No life signs detected. The Vrin presence in this system is eliminated." Yuna nodded. "Good. Helm, take us back to Polara Prime. It is time to talk with our new friends." Back on the planet's surface, Elder Pelrix had been monitoring the battle through his sensors. When the planet cracker rounds hit, the energy readings had been so high that he thought his equipment was malfunctioning. No weapon should produce that much power. No species should have that kind of destructive capability, and yet the humans did. When Admiral Yuna's dropship landed again, Pelrix was waiting with his council. The other Helix leaders looked nervous. They had seen the battle data. They understood now what kind of species had answered their distress call. Yuna stepped out and walked directly to Pelrix. "The threat is eliminated. The Vrin mothership is destroyed. Your system is secure, thank you," Pelrix said quietly. "We owe you everything." Yuna studied him for a moment. "You look afraid." "Not grateful, afraid." Pelrix hesitated, then decided honesty was best. "We are grateful. But yes, we are also afraid. Admiral, your people fight with a level of violence we have never witnessed. You destroyed an entire species in a single day. Planet cracker weapons. Nuclear missiles. Total warfare. We called for help. And you came with an armada ready to annihilate our enemies. It is overwhelming. Yuna was quiet for a long moment. Then she sat down on a piece of rubble, gesturing for Pelrix to join her. When he did, she spoke softly. My people come from a world called Earth. It is not like your world. Earth is heavy with strong gravity. The weather is violent. The animals are predators. For millions of years, my ancestors fought to survive. Every day was a battle. We learned to work together, to protect our families, to fight with everything we had. That is what made us human. She looked at the Helix elder. When we heard your distress signal, we did not think about politics or treaties or trade agreements. We thought about people dying, people who needed help, and we responded the only way we know how, with everything we have. Pelrix listened carefully. You fight to protect. Yes, Yuna said. We fight to protect. But we are very good at fighting, Elder Pelrix. And that scares people. It scares us sometimes too. But it is who we are. One of the Helix Council members spoke up. What happens now? Will you stay? Occupy our world? 3 days after the battle, Polara Prime looked different. Human engineering teams worked alongside Helix workers, rebuilding damaged structures. Medical tents stood in the city squares where Soman and her team continued treating the wounded. The sky was clear now, no longer filled with burning ships or weapons fire. Peace had returned, but it was a different kind of peace than before. Elder Pelrix sat in his temporary office, a prefabricated structure the humans had built in less than 4 hours. Across from him sat Captain Jinho and a new arrival, a human diplomat named Hyunwoo. The diplomat was older than most of the humans Pelrix had met, with gray hair and kind eyes. Elder Pelrix, Hyunwoo began. I am here to discuss what happens next. The integration between our peoples. Pelrix folded his hands on the table. I am grateful for all your people have done. But I must be honest. My people are afraid of you. Jinho looked surprised. Afraid we saved you? Yes, Pelrix said carefully. And that is what frightens us. You saved us with such violence, such overwhelming force. We have never seen anything like it. The Vryn were a plague that had consumed dozens of worlds, and you destroyed them in a day. If you can do that to them, what could you do to us? Hyunwoo nodded slowly. I understand your fear. Let me tell you about Earth. Let me help you understand who we are. For the next hour, Hyunwoo explained human history. He told Pelrix about a world where survival was never guaranteed, about predators that hunted humans, about diseases that killed millions, about weather that could destroy entire cities. He explained how humans learned to work together, to form families and tribes and nations because alone they would die. We are violent, Hyunwoo admitted, but our violence comes from a desire to protect. For millions of years, if we did not protect our family, our children, our tribe, they would die. That instinct is still inside us. When we hear someone crying for help, we cannot ignore it. We must respond. Pelrix listened carefully. So when you heard our distress signal, we heard our family calling for help, Jinho finished. It did not matter that we had never met you. Someone needed help. That was enough. There was a knock on the door. One of Pelrix's assistants entered, looking nervous. Elder, there is a representative from the Galactic Council. He wishes to speak with you and the humans. Pelrix stood. Show him in. The being that entered was tall and thin, with blue skin and 4 arms. His species, the Valerians, were known as diplomats and observers. This one introduced himself as Velith, a council representative assigned to assess the situation. Elder Pelrix, Velith said formally, I am here to investigate the recent battle and the human involvement. Admiral Yuna entered the room at that moment, along with Minji. Yuna had been inspecting the orbital defenses but had returned when she heard about the council representative. Admiral Kang, Velith said, turning to face her, I have many questions. The Galactic Council is deeply concerned about what happened here. Concerned? Yuna's voice was cold. A civilian population was under attack. We responded. What is concerning about that? Velith pulled out a data pad. Admiral, our records show that you brought 347 warships to this system. You deployed weapons capable of cracking planets. You destroyed an entire Vryn presence without attempting negotiation or diplomatic resolution. The scale of force was excessive. Excessive, Yuna repeated flatly. Tell me, Counselor, how many negotiations does it take to stop a species that eats sentient beings? Velith shifted uncomfortably. The Galactic Council has protocols for these situations. You should have contacted us first. We would have sent mediators. And how long would that have taken? Minji asked, stepping forward. Our analysis shows the Calyx had perhaps 6 hours before the Vryn broke into their shelters. How fast can your mediators travel? Velith did not answer immediately. Finally, he said, The Council acknowledges that you saved lives, but we must discuss humanity's military capabilities. No species in the known galaxy has weapons like yours. No species fights with such intensity. The Council is worried about what this means for galactic stability. Hyunwoo spoke up, his voice diplomatic but firm. Counselor Velith, humanity has been part of the galactic community for only 5 years. In that time, we have traded peacefully, shared knowledge, and caused no conflicts. This is the first time we have used military force, and it was in defense of an innocent civilization. What exactly concerns the Council? You are too powerful, Velith said bluntly. Most species evolved on peaceful worlds. They developed technology slowly, carefully. Humanity evolved on what you call a death world. Your planet forced you to become warriors. Now you bring that warrior nature into space. The Council fears what you might do with such power. Yuna stood up, her expression hard. Then let me make something very clear to the Galactic Council. Humanity has no interest in conquest. We have no desire to rule over others. But we will not stand by when innocents are being slaughtered. If that concerns the Council, that is their problem, not ours. The room fell silent. Elder Pelrix watched the exchange with growing understanding. The Galactic Council represented hundreds of peaceful species, all of whom had evolved on gentle worlds. They had never needed to develop serious military capabilities, because the galaxy had been relatively peaceful. But the Vryn had shown that threats existed. And now humanity had shown they could counter those threats with overwhelming force. Admiral, Velith said quietly, the Council is not your enemy. We simply wish to understand your intentions. Yuna sat down again, her anger controlled. Our intentions are simple. We will trade with peaceful species. We will share our knowledge. We will help those who ask for help. But if someone threatens innocent lives, we will respond. With everything we have. That is not a threat, Counselor. That is a promise. Velith nodded slowly. I will relay this to the Council. But I must warn you, many species will be frightened of you now. Word of this battle will spread across the galaxy. Let it spread, Jinho said. Maybe it will make predators like the Vryn think twice before attacking civilians. After Velith left, Elder Pelrix sat down heavily. He is right. Word will spread. The galaxy will learn what humans can do. Some will be grateful. Others will be terrified. Hyunwoo nodded. Yes, but that cannot be helped. We are what we are. We can only show through our actions that we mean no harm to peaceful species. Later that day, Pelrix visited the human medical tent. Inside, Soman was treating a young Calyx child who had been injured during the evacuation. The child was scared, crying softly. Soman spoke gently to her, bandaging her arm with careful hands. There, Soman said softly. All better. You are very brave. The child looked up at her. Are you a human? The warriors from the sky? Soman smiled. Yes, I am human. But I am not a warrior. I am a healer. But you came with the warriors, the child said. You fight too? No, Soman said. I fix people who are hurt. That is my job. The child thought about this. Why did the warriors come? Why did they save us? Soman knelt down to the child's level. Because you needed help. And when someone needs help, good people come to help them. Are humans good people? The child asked innocently. Soman was quiet for a moment. We try to be. We are not perfect. We can do bad things sometimes. But we try to be good. We try to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Elder Pelrix, listening from the doorway, felt something shift in his understanding. Yes, humans were warriors. Yes, they were frightening in battle. But they were also healers. They were also protectors. They had the capacity for great violence, but they chose to use it only against those who threatened the innocent. That evening, Pelrix gathered his council. We must make a decision, he said. The humans have offered to help us rebuild. They have offered to train a defense force so we can protect ourselves in the future. They have offered friendship. But this choice will define our civilization's future. If we accept, we align ourselves with the most powerful military force in the galaxy. We become associated with them. Some species will fear us because of it. One council member spoke up. But if we do not accept, we remain vulnerable. The Vryn are gone, but there may be other threats. We have no way to defend ourselves, another added. The humans saved us. They showed us compassion even as they showed our enemies destruction. I believe we can trust them. Pelrix looked at each council member. Then we are agreed? We accept the human offer of alliance? One by one they nodded. The next morning, Elder Pelrix met with Admiral Yuna, Captain Jinho, and Diplomat Hyunwoo. We have decided, he said formally. The Calyx people wish to accept your offer of friendship. We would like to learn from you. Not just your military knowledge, but your culture, your philosophy, your way of life. Yuna nodded. We accept. But understand, Elder, we do not expect you to become like us. We only want to help you protect yourselves. You remain who you are. We remain who we are. But we face the galaxy together. Jinho smiled. Welcome to humanity's circle, Elder Pelrix. We protect our friends. As Pelrix shook their hands, he felt hope for the first time since the Vryn had arrived. His people had suffered, but they had survived. And they had found allies. Strange allies, frightening allies, but allies who had proven their loyalty with action. The galaxy would learn soon enough. When you called for help, humans answered, and they brought armadas. 6 months passed like a breath of wind across the galaxy. But in that short time, everything changed. The news of what happened at Polara Prime spread through the galactic communication networks like fire through dry grass. Every species heard the story. Every civilization saw the sensor recordings. The humans, the newcomers from the mysterious world called Earth, had destroyed an entire Vryn presence in less than a day. They had brought hundreds of warships in response to a simple distress signal. They had shown power that frightened half the galaxy and gave hope to the other half. On the planet Delmare, a peaceful aquatic species called the Telvari watched the news with wide eyes. Their representative, an elder named Kelvin, spoke to his people through their underwater communication network. The Death Worlders have changed the balance of power. For the first time in centuries, predator species must think twice before attacking. On the industrial world of Korthan Prime, the ruling military council watched the same recordings with different eyes. General Thrax, leader of the Korthan Dominion, studied the human weapons with cold calculation. They are powerful, he admitted. But they are few in number. The galaxy has thousands of civilizations. Humanity numbers only in the billions. They cannot protect everyone. The Galactic Council met an emergency session on their orbital station above the neutral world of Sanctum. Representatives from 200 species gathered to discuss the human question. Counselor Veleth presented his report, explaining what he had witnessed at Polara Prime. The humans fight with weapons designed to destroy planets, Veleth explained. They deploy nuclear weapons as standard armament. Their soldiers endure physical conditions that would kill most of us. They are, in every sense, a warrior species, but they claim to use this power only for protection. A representative from the Melvinian Confederacy, an insectoid species, spoke up. Can we trust this claim? Every powerful species in galactic history has eventually used force for conquest. Why would humans be different? Because they are different, Elder Pelrix said, standing to address the council. The Calyx elder had been invited to testify. I have lived among humans for these past months. I have seen their nature. Yes, they are warriors, but they are also poets, artists, philosophers. They laugh, they cry, they love their families. They choose compassion over cruelty, even when cruelty would be easier. I trust them because they have earned that trust. The debate continued for days. Finally, the council reached a compromise. Humanity would be welcomed as full members of the galactic community, but their military expansion would be monitored. Human ships could travel freely, but they would report their movements to council observers. When Diplomat Hyunwoo heard the terms, he laughed. They want to monitor us? Fine, let them watch. They will see we mean what we say. On Polara Prime, life had returned to normal, though a new kind of normal. The Calyx cities had been rebuilt with human help. Advanced construction equipment had repaired buildings in weeks instead of years. But more importantly, the Calyx had changed. Minji stood in a training facility watching young Calyx volunteers learning basic defense tactics. They would never be warriors like humans. Their bodies were not built for combat, but they could learn to operate defensive weapons, to coordinate evacuation procedures, to protect their own people. Good, Minji told a young Calyx named Kelrin, who had just successfully operated a plasma turret simulator. You are learning quickly. Remember, the goal is not to win battles. The goal is to survive long enough for help to arrive. Will humans always come when we call? Kelran asked. Minji smiled. Yes, that is the promise we make to our friends. You call, we come. In space above Polara Prime, a joint patrol vessel cruised through the system. Captain Jinho commanded the ship, but his crew was mixed. Humans, Keelix, and even a few Valerians worked together. It was a symbol of the new cooperation between species. Hana, still serving as communications officer, picked up a signal. Captain receiving a distress call. The Taros system. A colony is under attack by raiders. Jinho checked the distance. 2 hours at maximum speed. Helm, change course. Communications relay the signal to the nearest human fleet. Within minutes, 4 human warships changed course to respond. They were not hundreds this time, not an armada, but they were enough. When they arrived at Taros system, the raiders took one look at the human vessels and fled. They had heard the stories from Polara Prime. They knew what humans did to those who threatened civilians. The Taros colonists sent grateful messages. Word spread again. The humans had responded. Again. They kept their promises. Across the galaxy, other species began to notice a pattern. When distress signals were sent, humans responded. Always. It did not matter if the species was allied with humanity or not. If someone was in trouble, humans came, sometimes with overwhelming force, sometimes with just a single ship, but they always came. On Earth, in the capital city of New Sol, Admiral Yuna stood before the Human Defense Council. She was presenting her report on the first 6 months of active military operations. We have responded to 47 distress calls, Yuna reported. In most cases, our presence alone was enough to deter aggression. In 3 cases, we engaged hostile forces. 0 civilian casualties under our protection. 712 human casualties, mostly minor injuries. The council leader, an older man named Chairman Deho, nodded slowly. And what is the galaxy's response to our actions? Mixed, Yuna admitted. Half the galaxy loves us. Half fears us. Some species want closer alliance. Others want us restricted. But no one can deny we have made the galaxy safer. Chairman Daiho looked at the data. Continue your operations, Admiral. But remember, we walk a fine line. We must be strong enough to protect, but gentle enough to trust. Never forget that balance. In the Korthan Dominion, General Thrax made a decision that would change his empire's fate. For decades, the Korthan had raided weaker species, taking resources and slaves. They had built their power on exploitation. But the general saw opportunity. If humans protected the weak, perhaps the Korthan could test these protectors. Thrax ordered a raid on a human colony on the frontier. A small settlement barely defended. Just a test to see how the Deathworlders would respond. The raid happened at night. Korthan ships dropped soldiers on the colony world. They attacked the settlement intending to take prisoners and supplies. But the colonists fought back with surprising ferocity. Human civilians, armed with basic weapons, held the Korthan soldiers at bay long enough to send a distress signal. The response was swift and terrible. Engineer Do-hyun's ship, the Resolute Dawn, was the nearest vessel. He received the distress call and immediately changed course. But he was not alone. 7 other human ships in the sector heard the signal and converged on the colony. When they arrived, they found Korthan troops still on the ground. Do-hyun did not hesitate. He authorized orbital strikes on the landing zones. Korthan soldiers died in fire from the sky. The survivors tried to retreat to their ships, but human fighters destroyed the Korthan vessels before they could escape. Marine Commander Jinwoo led the ground assault. His troops landed and moved through the colony with practiced efficiency. Any Korthan soldier who resisted was eliminated. Those who surrendered were captured and put into holding cells. When the battle ended, Jinwoo found General Thrax himself among the prisoners. The Korthan general had led the raid personally, thinking a small colony would be an easy target. You made a mistake, Jinwoo told the general. You attacked humans. You attacked our home. Thrax looked at the human soldier with hate in his eyes. The galaxy will not allow you to retaliate against the Dominion. The Council will intervene. Jinwoo smiled coldly. We do not need to retaliate. You came to us. You attacked our people. Now you face the consequences. Within 72 hours, a human fleet of 30 ships arrived at the Korthan capital. Admiral Yuna herself commanded the fleet. She sent a message to the Korthan government. You attacked a human colony. You killed 17 civilians. We are here to ensure this never happens again. The Corthan military prepared to fight, but when they saw the human weapons, when they saw the recordings from Polara Prime, they hesitated. Admiral Yuna gave them one chance to surrender. They took it. The Corthan Dominion collapsed in a week. Human forces dismantled their military infrastructure. Enslaved species were freed. The Corthan leaders were arrested and tried for crimes against sentient life. The trial was fair, but the punishment was severe. The galaxy watched and learned. Do not attack humans became common wisdom. Do not attack those under human protection. 6 months after Polara Prime, Elder Pelric stood in his rebuilt office and looked at the stars through his window. So much had changed. The Kalix were no longer helpless prey. They had friends. Powerful friends who had proven their loyalty. Captain Jinho entered the office. Elder, I came to say goodbye. The morning stars being reassigned to the outer rim. Pelrix turned and clasped the human's hand in the Kalix gesture of friendship. Thank you, Captain. For everything, Jinho smiled. We did not do anything special. We heard you needed help, we came. That is what friends do. But you brought an armada, Pelrix said with amusement. Most friends bring food or kind words. You brought hundreds of warships,